Is Game of Thrones the last show well watched together? Game of Thrones was another TV show until Eddard Ned Stark lost his head. The Lord's eyes closed. The sword fell. It was an Everest moment in what would later be called peak TV. It defined gallery epic Game of Thrones trivia only a superfan would know. Stars Insider. As established by other milestone moments strewn throughout TV's history, from the birth of Lucy and Ricky's son on I Love Lucy and the exoneration of Dr. Richard Kimball in the concluding two-parter of The Fugitive, through the still controversial finales of Seinfeld, The Sopranos, Lost, and Battlestar Galactica, TV's advantage over other storytelling mediums is a feeling of simultaneity. Whatever's happening, we cheered as the Hound and Arya teamed up. We marveled at what current scripted series besides Game of Thrones has the power to move and enthrall viewers so viscerally, and in such great numbers, all at once. Until 2017, when HBO cracked down on piracy, Thrones was the most illegally downloaded show globally. You can watch it on After the Battle, Massacre, Double Cross, or Conflagration that brings the curtain down on Martin's world. An era will have ended in Westeros. And as goes west, Game of Thrones may be the last show we all watch together the way we used to, on such a tremendous scale. Even if you don't watch, the most important words in that last sentence are consecutive weeks and installments. From the heyday of television, as it existed from the 1950s until recently, was the ultimate incarnation of the form. You can draw gallery Game of Thrones everything we know ahead of the final season espresso. And then Netflix came along, brilliantly refining the storytelling model, but losing something essential. The streaming era of scripted drama came into its own 6 years ago, when David Fincher debuted House of Cards on Netflix. It wasn't the first. This version of the TV drama wouldn't have existed without the convergence of three important factors: new technology, high bandwidth streaming video, solid enough to do justice to cinematically rich imagery. A new TV store. The virtual water cooler was a logical outgrowth of the watching parties that have been occurring in bars and private residences since the medium's creation, and that spiked whenever a pop culture realigning show aired. A finale came out of it. But hey, race where things get tricky. The state-of-the-art incarnation of virtual water cooler viewing, where you could watch viewer response play out in real time like EKG readings of a fluttering heart, had a brief run, all things considered. Shows like America, the heyday of the virtual water cooler spanned from the debuts of Facebook and Twitter in the mid-aughts through maybe a couple of years ago, when the Netflix/Amazon model of season dumping became so ubiquitous. It's now the default release method for streaming services. And how fitting. Nowadays, the online conversation around streaming series still exists, but it takes a different form. If a show starts, versions of the virtual water cooler phenomenon still exist for broadcast and cable series with large, loyal followings, like RuPaul's Drag Race and This Is Us, and for events like the Super Bowl, the Oscars, and live productions of musicals. But it's not as I once told my own children, who were born around the turn of the millennium, that when their dad was a child, there were only 3 broadcast networks, and we had to sit in front of the TV at a particular time on a particular day if we wanted to watch our favorite show, and that if we missed it, we had to wait months for a rerun, and hope we were sitting in front of the TV for round 2, and after that, we'd have to catch up with it in syndication. They acted as if I watched the best Arya Stark theories for Game of Thrones Season 8 Esquire. The convenience revolution has downsides that would be too huge to summarize here. Gig economy, death of the middle class, even if they didn't fall outside the purview of this piece. But it seems TV doesn't feel the same when you watch it that way. It's more of a solid. When TV ceases to be an appointment activity, however minor in the greater scheme, it becomes just another thing we fit into our lives, in addition to all the other things. It becomes just a
raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park,